Welcome to the Kirk Miller Podcast. Today I have a great friend, someone I met 3-4 years ago at EMC Marketing Conference.
Is it that long?
With Mr. Matt Wilson, our great friend. I remember
It's longer.
Ah?
It was longer.
Was it?
Yeah.
Mate, I'm getting old.
I reckon it was 5 years ago.
But I remember seeing you on stage, Spence, and what immediately captivated me was your energy. There was a lot of speakers that were on stage that day, all doing their pitch or their presentation, but it was your energy that stood out like a sore thumb. So I'm absolutely delighted to have the man himself, Spencer Lodge, on the Kirk Miller Podcast today. For those who don't know you, Spence, we just joked about this beforehand, right? Because for some of you who do know Spence might think that he's just a man with one of the biggest, am I correct in saying it's one of the biggest podcasts in Dubai?
English speaking, yeah.
Yeah, English speaking. Yeah. And we joked, didn't we, going that a lot of people just think that's all you do.
Yeah.
We joke, what a life that'd be if we do is just chat, right? But look, one of the reasons I wanted to get you on, Spence, is you've been in Dubai a long time. You've seen probably more things than most. A lot of people come and go. So I just want to unpack really today, Spence, just the mindset behind how you live, how you operate, and things that have gone well, not so well, that can provide insights to anyone who is maybe thinking of coming to Dubai or in Dubai right now, and they're wondering, how can I sort of make it? And with that said, am I right in saying that your podcast, you've just renamed it to Made in Dubai?
Yeah, it's been rebranded to Made in Dubai,
Yeah. So those who don't know what you do, other than that enormous podcast, which I encourage anyone to check it out, what does Spencer Lodge do?
It's going to be really boring as I tell this.
No, it's not.
So in terms of businesses, so I own a wealth management company in the DIFC called Finsbury Wealth. I own an insurance business called Benapul, which is an anagram of benefits and people. Yeah. I own a software platform called Benapul HR, which is a tool that HR use in companies to run HR administration. Yeah. I am an investor in a bunch of other types of investments, but I suppose there's no point really boring everyone with that. But I come from a financial services background. Yeah. In fact, I don't. I come from a sales background. I'm just a salesman. Really, I am. And I'm really bad at so many things in business. I'm just good at selling. And so I own a company called Make It Happen, and with a training program and all that kind of stuff. But if you were to strip me down and find out who I am at my core, what's my core? I'm a salesperson. And I learned to be a professional salesperson, and I defend salespeople because I think being a salesperson is a brilliant thing to be, and it should be respected and loved. And every company in the land, if you've got no sales, you've got no business. And so respect the guy who's making the sales.
Why do you love sales so much, and when did you realise that you were pretty good at it?
Well, I left school at 16. Just wanted to be a ski instructor. That was it.
Why?
And because it was cool. I skied. I loved it, And so I was a ski instructor for a bit. And then it was August, I think, about 11 o'clock in the morning, and I'm still in bed. And my mum kicks me out of bed, and she's like, "You need a job." I'm like, "I've got a job. I'm a ski instructor." She said, "Where's the snow?" It's August in Essex.
Yeah.
And so I did some temp jobs. My mum had a recruitment consultancy, so I had some temp jobs, and then I got 3 job offers for 3 permanent jobs. One was a trainee estate agent, the other one was a trainee photocopier salesman, and the other one was a trainee car salesman at a BMW dealership. Yeah. And the BMW dealership came with a 316 BMW, and I'm like, I'm in. So I got the job, and I was chuffed a bit. Drove my BMW 316 for the month, and got to the end of the month, and they asked for the keys back, and they fired me for having a bad attitude. I was like, okay. Learned a lot then. And then I took the job that was selling office equipment, selling copiers, because that came with a company car as well. I didn't have a car.
So you were sucked in by the car at the time?
That was the car, yeah. And I was taught how to sell by 2 incredibly successful salespeople, and I was taught how to deal with rejection, and that was really important. And I was taught about discipline, and I was young enough not to know any better, and not to have any stories I'd created in my mind about why I couldn't do something.
Okay.
And so at that stage, it was like, you're going to get rejection 99 times out of 100. So go find the rejection. And it was I was conditioned to understand that that was an important part of getting acceptance. So it didn't bother me,
Even from an early age, because I speak for myself, having been rejected as a footballer and had many rejections, even things like relationships, but that can take years for many people to handle, get used to dealing with the rejection, right? But
I remember there were 16 trainees started on the same day, and I was the only one left.
Why?
Because I was told to do something, and I did it.
Okay.
You know, I was just told to do it, and I didn't question it. And so, okay. And it wasn't knocking on doors in EC3 in the city of London, going to companies trying to get a compliment slip and the name of the office manager and, you know, the office equipment company they used. It wasn't glamorous. You know, in January in the city of London, it's raining and you got your raincoat on, your umbrellas bending backwards as you're walking down the street. It wasn't fun. I did have a guy, though, I've not seen him since I left that company all those years ago, called David Kelleher. Yeah. And we used to go out doing it together. Yeah. And the guy could do impressions. And so he'd walk into buildings with me and he'd pretend to be like an ex-German soldier, or he'd pretend to be an old man from the Last of the Summer Wine or something. And he would just make it fun. And if we'd get out and I'd be like, what have you just said? And he's like, it was just hilarious. And I was like,
so that was a rapport builder.
And that, it was just, they didn't know he was doing impressions. He was just doing the impressions. And it just made it fun. And I think that I managed to be persistent and I was disciplined enough, you know. And I used to get up really early back then. You know, we'd get up at work at 4:30. I'd leave home at 5. I'd be at the office at 6. They'd lock the doors at 6:15 for all the trainees. So if you were in the office after 6:15 a.m., they'd lock the doors because training was 6:15 to 8:15, and we had it every day. And for me, I loved it. And I was trained by really good people, and I was taught that being a professional salesperson is a skill-based job, and learn the skills. And so that's how I became competent. Then I saw a little bit of success, and then I started spending more money than I was earning, and so I had to find another job that would pay more. Yeah. So I found another job that paid more, and then I got into financial services. I went out to the Far East, and then I got a job that paid even more. And I always just wanted to earn more. I wanted to earn more than I could spend. That was always my goal. Can I earn more than I can spend?
Was that because did you come from money at all, Spence?
No.
Okay.
My parents got divorced when I was 7. Dad went bankrupt. He rebuilt himself. Mum rebuilt herself. And I was around that behavior.
Okay.
And so that behavior was for them was normal behavior. So it was normalized for me. Okay. And because it was normalized for me, it was just behavior. It wasn't, oh wow, what are they doing? Yeah. And I think a lot of people don't get that.
Did that affect you at all?
The divorce?
Just that dynamic growing up?
Yeah. I was one of the first kids in my school to be from a divorced family, because that was 1977, so it was a long time ago. But it was, I don't use it or think of it as something really bad. You know, I've got 2 great parents. I've got 2 great step parents, and my mum always championed me. She'd always kind of like push me. And try and be my best, you know, to have high standards, and you know, so she didn't care. Just try your best. I don't care what happens. Just try your best. Have a go. Yeah. And that kind of mentality, I think, rubbed off on me. And
yeah. So when did you start seeing real success? Was it your own business, or you know, you said you had this habit of making money, spending money. What age did you first make big money? And you thought, okay, I'm.
Are you measuring success by money?
Yeah, initially from money. Because this is what I want to speak about. We spoke about this before.
I think it was probably 1996 was the first year I earned $1 million.
1996. What age would you have been then?
26.
Okay.
And it was 1998 that I had $1 million in the bank, because I've got a picture of it somewhere, the bank statement. And it was my first, and it was like $1,014 a pound. Sorry, it's pounds back then. And I had that, and I was a millionaire.
How did you feel?
Arrogant, obnoxious, and like I was superior to everyone and everything else, I think.
What did you do with the money?
To spend it. I bought Ferraris and watches and stupid nonsense. I mean, I did make some investments. I mean, I bought property and stuff, but yeah, back then I wasn't. I thought I was going to live forever. I thought money like this was just going to roll in forever and ever and ever. Okay. And so, yeah, you know, I'd spend some, I'd invest some, I'd spend some, I'd invest some. And some investments were brilliant, you know, some stupid investments, you know, I put $500,000 into an old friend's business plan. And, you know, I put 50 grand in, and he's like, no, we need another 450. And okay, go on then, I'll do it. And I've never seen anything from it. It's gone, just gone, you know. And I get this email once every now and then from him. He lives in America now. I still think of you, Spence. And I'm like, I just think about the money I gave you, mate. So I made loads of really bad investment decisions.
What would you say your biggest mistake during that period, or your first sort of slap in the backside that there's one thing making money, but you can lose that very quickly? Or
what bad investment?
Yeah. What was the most stupid thing you did, say in your 20s?
In terms of Cars were always stupid. I never owned a car for more than 9-10 months, and I always lost my shirt on a car. That was from Porsches to Ferraris to whatever it may be. That was just stupid. And no one had trained me to understand any different. No one had educated me that it was stupid. You know, I was just behaving like somebody that was making never-ending amounts of money, like professional footballers do nowadays. They're 25 years old, all driving around in Bentleys. It's like, you know, the sensible ones. What's his name? Gary Neville.
Yeah.
He was driving around in a Golf GTI, and the others driving around in Bentleys. And
now he's got a property empire, I believe.
Yeah, exactly.
He's got
and Robbie Fowler, the same.
Correct.
You know? So I was just not taught what to do. So I just spent, and then I started to buy property. But I invested in businesses, like startup businesses that fell on their face.
Okay.
Like literally, I thought it was a good idea because I didn't back then know how to read financials. I didn't know how to understand a deck. I was literally seduced by the guy selling me the idea.
So can I ask you something? Because I think this is a trait of a lot of salespeople, right? You might articulate better than me, but isn't there a saying that something that a lot of people who are good salesmen get sold to by people similar to themselves, or can be quite reactive?
Oh yeah, salespeople are the easiest people to sell to, because first of all, we'll listen, we'll give it a go, we might critique, but if it's a good pitch, you've got us, you know. And we're literally like getting sucked in, like I don't know, like the crack dealer pulls the drug addict in. It's just, oh yeah, that sounds like a good idea. And what we also do is we tell other people it's a good idea too, and because we want some affirmations from somewhere.
So if you're going down, someone else is going down.
But you don't think you're going down. You always think you're going to the moon. We're going to the moon. Come, let's go to the moon. Yeah.
So when did things? I'm guessing you're still in the UK at that point.
No. I left England when I was 23, so I went to live in the Far East when I was 23. So I'd moved into financial services overseas, and I'd started making proper money then. And it was 26, 27, 28 that I got to that place of real money. Yeah. Or so I thought it was back then. Yeah.
Yeah. Am I right in saying as well that was one of 10 cities that you?
Yeah.
What city?
Hong Kong, Thailand, Hong Kong, Bangkok, Kuala Lumpur, Lagos, Sao Paulo, Brazil, Milan, Cairo, Slovakia, Bratislava, Amsterdam, and then Dubai.
It's really impressive that you remembered every single one of them
in order.
I'm telling you now, there's absolutely no way I'd be able to remember that. What was the biggest lesson from going across 10 cities like that? I mean, because you must have learned so much about life and people. How did that change your perspective?
Every time I went somewhere new, I was told it's different here. It's different here.
Okay.
Be careful, it's different here. And okay, the weather was different, the environment was different, but people were still people. You know, if you're Kirk in Coventry and Kirk in Aberdeen and Kirk in Denmark and Kirk in Dubai, are you still Kirk? You're not any different. You're the same person. And so what I really lent into the fact is, okay, we're in a different environment, but people are still people. And when I was selling financial advice, the fact is everybody wants the same things. Everybody wants security for their family, a good education for their kids, a good career. They want their investments to make money. They want to live in a nice house. They want to go on their holidays as much as they want to go on holidays. They want to drive a nice car. They want to wear nice clothes. Nearly everybody wants the same things. Nobody's asking for anything different. Whether you're Brazilian, whether you're Bangladeshi, whether you're British, doesn't make a difference. We all want the same outcomes. It's just a case of working out how to get to those outcomes depending on the environment you've been in. So Brazil, for example, hyperinflation. So I was in a country where they were changing the price of a loaf of bread 3 times a day. You try getting that in your head. And so when people got paid their salary, they had to spend it straight away.
Okay. And
interest rates in the bank were 40% a month.
Wow.
That's insane. I was having to talk to Brazilians about investing in US dollar rather than Brazilian reais. Brazilians investing in a place called the Isle of Man. And they're the Isle of the Man. And I'm like, it's in the English Channel between Ireland and England. They're like, the island of the man is in between Ireland and England. I'm like, it's a tax haven. It's great. And they were like, what on earth is this guy on? And they were like, the Channel Islands. Where's that in the English Channel? What's that? That's in between France and England. And they were like, what are these places? But I was having to teach them about security.
Okay.
And so they're in a place where everything's very volatile and it's very safe by comparison where we are.
Yeah. Why Dubai? Obviously, you've gone through all these 10 cities and you got to Dubai because right now, obviously, Dubai's got its bubble. So many people moving here, but I'm guessing that wasn't the case when you
20 years ago, yeah.
No,
Well, there was a boom. There was a boom for sure. There was stuff going on here. I was living in Amsterdam for a few years. It was cold. It was the same line of latitude as Hull, so the weather wasn't great. And the company that I was part of, we bought a company here, and one of us had to come and run it. And one of us was based in, there was three of us. One was based in Monaco, one was based in Hong Kong, and I was in Amsterdam. And I'm like, I'll go and do it because I don't want to be in Amsterdam anymore. And so I came over here, and the company we bought, I came in and took it over in January 2005. And yeah, built it.
What made it successful then?
The company culture was really important. There was great ambition. There was a lot of hard work. A really ambitious group of people worked, and we created a team of us against the rest of the world. And people were hungry. You know, it doesn't matter what skills you've got. If you're hungry, you'll find a way. And you know, I was looking for hungry people that were desperate to be successful, desperate to achieve. And I was able to do that with the company, and they, you know, it was a really, really successful business.
What's changed from like 20 years ago to now, do you feel, if anything, of what it takes to be successful, to build a business then versus now 20 years later?
Nothing.
Okay.
The only thing that's changed are the tools. The tools are available. So 20 years ago, there weren't the same tools available. There wasn't the same social media opportunities 20 years ago. There wasn't the same, you know, some things worked better then than they do now. And so if, you know, for example, email campaigns back then were much easier than they are now. The open rates were much higher because email was, you know, less, you know, people weren't getting lambasted with junk mail and all that kind of stuff. So nothing's changed, and nothing has ever changed. People think there's change. But what
do people think? Like, you know, what's some of the
misconceptions? If you take any business, you and I can pick something random right now, and we can go through it. Because in 2005, let's say we had a business selling soft drinks.
Yep.
Okay. Would we have to find our market?
Yep.
Would we have to target our market? Would we have to market to those people? Well, what would change about now? It's the same thing. You've got a product or a service, you've got to sell it. You've got to find people that want to buy it. Okay, well, I can do it on social media now, but I couldn't do that back then. You know, I remember when I was first doing sales, my phone was attached to the floor, and I was at a desk, and I didn't have a laptop on my desk. I had a telephone directory, but I was still making telephone calls. Just like when I got a mobile phone, I was still making telephone calls, and telephone calls have been replaced by messaging, been replaced by emails or whatever other method there is. But it's still I'm outreaching to somebody to get them to buy my product or service. Whether that's one-to-one, one-to-many, doesn't make a difference. And I think a lot of people try and say things are different in business.
Okay.
Well, I'm 55 years old and I don't get it. I think that the tools that we use are different. But at the end of the day, if you and I go into business together and we sell lights, we've got to find some people to buy some lights.
Yeah.
Well, that didn't change in 20 years. Still got to find some people to buy some lights.
But you've just got more opportunity and ways to find people who may buy those lights now.
You have different opportunities than you had before, yeah.
And what are the most common things? You've seen so many things in the last 20 years, right? You must have seen so many businesses start, fail, people come and go. For anyone thinking of coming to Dubai, or they've just moved to Dubai, or they're maybe going through a tough time, or they're looking at other people going, look at what they're doing. What are the ways, just being brutally honest, if someone wanted to guarantee they would fail and not be around in a place like Dubai for long, what would be the most common traits you've seen?
Know-it-all, arrogant, lazy, insincere, doesn't understand the value of building a network. That's how you fail.
Tell me more about building a network. For someone's they've just came here and they're not sure how to do that. What would they do? Luckily,
Dubai is the best city in the world to build a network. There isn't anywhere, and I've lived in 10 countries, so I can argue this. There isn't anywhere like Dubai. And the reason it is that like you, like me, when you first came here, you met people that were on the same journey as you, just a bit further down the road. When I came here, it was the same thing that happened. Everybody is here for a period of time to achieve something. Most people won't retire here. Some people will, but most people won't. It's not geared for retirement. Okay, the environment's not geared for retirement. There's no retirement communities here at the moment. There's no retirement sheltered living here at the moment. None of that exists. And medical insurance is very expensive for retired people. If you're wealthy, that's fine. But if you're middle class, it might be a price too far.
Okay.
So people are here for a period of time. And if I meet somebody for the first time and I know they've just arrived, I know what pain they're feeling. I was in their shoes once, so I want to help. And that's the mindset and mentality of a lot of people here. People are keen to help, willing to help, they understand. So if you want to build a network, it's not difficult. You need to do the steps, you need to have the behaviors, you need to take the action, but it's not difficult. There are so many networking groups here that you can go and join people, like-minded people. You know, I go hiking on a Saturday morning with a group of people, from kickboxers to chairmans. Okay, and then everything in between, of FTSE companies and everything between, and we're all exactly the same. We just go hiking together. We've all got our silly boots on and our clothes on. We go out in the mountains. We have completely inappropriate conversations, but we also have incredibly valuable conversations. You know, my friend Paul, who's the COO of Grant Thornton, it's like getting coached for free for 2 hours, just picking his brain. And people do it to me and vice versa and stuff. And so there's great value there. That's hiking. If you don't like hiking, what do you do? Kayaking? There's a group for that. Dragon boat racing? There's a group for that. You want to do it in a pub? There's a group for that. You want to do it with your football team? There's a group for that. If you want to do it with your specific interest, there's a group for that. You just have to dig a little bit and find out where they are. You want to do it on a golf course? By golly, there's a group for that. You want to do it playing five-a-side football, playing paddle, cycling? There's a group for all of it. You just have to make the effort. And if you stay at home feeling sorry for yourself, feeling that you don't know anyone and you're a victim of something, then you're not going to get anywhere, are you?
So would you say that from all your experience, it's maybe a fear for that first step that holds people back when they first join?
It's always fear.
Yeah.
It's always fear. That's literally at the core of everyone. They're scared to get out of what's safe and comfortable into something that's uncomfortable because they don't know what the outcome's going to be. They have no control.
So they play safe.
They're not thinking they're playing safe. They're scared of the risk. And because they're scared of the risk, they don't want to take the risk. And that applies to so many people in so many different ways. My wife doesn't ski because when she was a youngster, she slipped outside her parents' house on the ice and broke her kneecap. Okay, so anywhere where there's anything white or icy, she's immediately into a deep psychological fear of falling over. And that's just in her brain. People in business are like that as well. They won't go to a place that's uncomfortable because they fear what it could be. You have to be prepared to get yourself embarrassed a little bit. You have to be prepared. It's like, have you ever been to one of those kind of like 4-day training events where you go there and you have to stand up on stage in front of these people you don't know and do a presentation? And they train you how to do it. You know, they give you all the guidelines and you do the course and all that stuff. And then you've got to stand up and you've got to make a complete goon of yourself, And you know you're bad and people aren't going to be mean to you. They're going to be kind to you. They're going to go, oh, you know, that could be better. Or, you know, they're not going to say you're useless, but you do it and you make a complete numpty of yourself. And it's in that moment that you grow because you've taken a step, you've been on the stage and you've got it wrong. Well, now you can get back on the stage. Okay, you might get it wrong, but not as wrong. And I think that those types of things for everybody, those steps people are fearful of taking. And you should just be prepared to understand that most people don't give a shit. Okay, no one cares about you. You're worried about what other people think all the time. No one's even thinking of you. They're wrapped up in their own worries and dramas and demons. You're just painting a picture in your brain of something that is completely false, that you're giving some version of authenticity to.
Well, what made me smile at that was, you were saying about that 4-day course, Spence. I went to, have you ever, Andy Harrington. Andy Harrington, so I remember doing a public speaking course with him many years ago. And I thought, I'm confident I can chat. And then, exactly like you just said. And I'm veering off it, but I had to share it. You do 4 days, it's exactly that. You're in these groups, there's 250 people. And then I went a step further than what you said, where you put in these small groups. Andy was at the stage, everyone's there. And I stupidly asked a question. You know how people talk about storytelling, try and tell the story as that person. My story involved a woman. So I'm like, if it's a woman, do you put that woman's voice on? He's like, well, come up on stage and share. I'm like, I could just feel myself, Spence, just disintegrate.
Dying inside.
You know, there's actually an Instagram video where I'm like, at the time I'm a sponsored athlete by My Protein, muscly, in shape. you look the boy. And then I took up on stage and I look back and you're just crying with pain at going like,
the embarrassment,
oh my Lord,
the shame.
Oh my Lord, you got this on covers and all this Men's Health. Blah, blah. It did not matter in that given moment, but it's true what you said. If I look back, if you don't take that first step and be prepared to get embarrassed and feel so tight in your stomach, then you'll forever be living on the sidelines, whether it's in business or whatever you're trying to achieve. That being said, you've definitely not been on the sidelines, certainly from the time I've known of you and known what you've achieved in business. I look at your stories, mate, and on social media, I mean, what time do you get up?
4:20.
4:20. What time do you go to bed to get up at 4:20?
I like to be in bed at 10 o'clock and to sleep at 10:30, but invariably it's 11.
Yeah. Like, one thing I know, we've just spoke about business and sales and all this stuff. If you don't mind me asking, what age are you?
55.
You're 55. Anyone who watches this back on the video and not the audio, you're one of the youngest 55-year-olds I've ever seen. So
yes.
No, he really is. And am I right in saying, and you might tell me to piss off for saying this, you don't have Botox?
Never. I'm scared of needles.
I still don't believe you. But...
I'm scared of needles. On my children's life.
Okay.
I've never had Botox. Okay. Never had stem cells. Never had fillers. Just my mum's a very, she still is. She's 80, but she was a very beautiful lady. Yeah. And I got some good genes from her. And again, I don't have anything. Never had. People say, there's a friend of mine that came up with some men's products, men's skincare products. He said, "Would you use them?" I'm like, he said, "What do you use at the moment?" And I'm like, "A soap and water." And he said, "Yeah, but what creams and lotions do you use?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He said, "So what shampoo do you use?" I'm like, "The shower gel shampoo, the 3-in-1 thing." And he's like,
"So there's nothing fancy you use?" Because honestly, you'll have to watch the video and fast forward to this bit just to actually look at Spence. But
thank you so much.
How important is your personal routine? Because no matter how much it can be a part of your life, and I'm speaking for myself here, like, a coach, it's what I do, right? It's part of my identity. I'm sure there are still some mornings that the last thing you want to do is go to the gym and get a work done. Like, why do you do that?
That's every morning.
Every morning?
Every morning I don't want to go.
Okay. But you've been doing this for how many years now? 7. Okay. And you built success, front-end success, and got a great life here in Dubai. Why do you keep doing it?
There's a couple of reasons. Number one, it's because I'm sharper, more alert, more productive, I've got more energy when I do it. Mm-hmm. That's one reason. Number two is that it keeps the demons at bay. And so the psychological demons that I've faced all of my life, it keeps them at bay. It's not a cure for them, but it keeps them at bay. Mm-hmm. And I just need to feed myself. When I started with a new personal trainer recently, it's my one relocated. And he said, "What do you want?" I said, "I want to just leave here happy every morning." Okay. He said, "So what does that mean?" He said, "I do want a program." I said, "I don't care. I don't care what we do." He said, "Well, what part of your body are you working on?" I said, "I'm not." I said, "I just want to come in here, work really hard for an hour, and I want to leave happy. Okay, that's all." And he's like, "Well, do you want to do weights? Do you want to do this CrossFit?" And I'm like, "I don't care. I'm an open book for you." Mm-hmm. All right. There's 2 things I won't do. Okay. These 2 exercises I won't do. I'm not going to tell you what squats. They are. No, I do those. Don't like doing burpees. 2 things I don't do, but the rest of it I will do and I'll embrace and I'll try as hard as I can each time. I won't be perfect, but that's me. I said, and on Fridays I don't want you to work my legs too much, so I hike on Saturdays. That's it. Yeah. And I said, make it fun. I said, it's critical that it's fun. All right. And so that's what we do. And we do that session every day. And it's really good for me. It makes me feel good. And everyone always asks me, "Why'd you get up so early?" And I'm like, why is it so early? If a gym opens at 5, why am I getting up early? I've heard about these gyms in Dubai that are full of women at 9 o'clock in the morning that are half dressed and rammed and everyone waiting to get on machines and stuff. Well, when I go to the gym, there's 6 people in there. So I've got the whole gym to myself pretty much. There's never a queue for anything. And, there's, the thing that you push the sled on, that carpet thing you push the sled on, apparently at lunchtime, there's people stretching on it, all kinds of stuff. Well, I don't know. It's empty for me to push the sled on. Yeah. So, and I also there's a sense of like this internal sense of winning. I start the day before everybody else. I'm in the office at 7 o'clock in the morning. It's kind of like I feel like I've beaten society, and that gives me a little bit of a confidence boost.
You said there, and again, you don't need to answer this, but I always probe when someone says they want to do something to be happy. Do you wake up in the morning unhappy, or is that just literally a daily medicine for you?
There's been big swathes of my life where I've been deeply unhappy, and for various reasons, my own doing, and I don't blame anybody else for the place that I've been in. Everything has been my decision and my choice, and I have had to live with the consequences of that. But I know for sure if I didn't go to the gym for 5 days, it would be dark very quickly. And I don't want it to be dark. I want to try and be a good husband. I want to try and be a positive father. I want to try and, we had something, the funniest thing. I've got to tell this because it happened in the office 2 days ago. And there's a young lad in the office. He's 32. His name's George, and he's like this bag of energy. And he was kind of like, I don't know what he's doing. He was kind of like almost shadow boxing or something by his desk. And I went up to him and I said, "Do you think you could take me in a fight?" And he said, "Yeah, with respect, Spence, because I'm 32, probably a lot fitter than you, a lot younger than you, a lot faster than you." I said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, we're not going to have a fight, are we? Because we get on with each other." And I said, "Do you think you could do more push-ups than me?" He went, "Of course I could do more push-ups than you." And I was like, "Okay, we'll go."
You didn't do it.
So he dropped and did, I don't know, 32 push-ups. And I was like, "My go."
You beat it.
I did 54 or something. But the rest of the office, like, the old man did 50 odd push-ups, and it was really quite funny. But it was like that those little wins that exist in life, and I think that they're really good for balance and environments, and yeah, I can't. If I don't have exercise, there's something that my body needs. Sunday's my kind of day off, and I get antsy. And people say you need to rest, you can't work out every day, you go on a 3-hour hike, But I get up the same time on a Sunday morning. I'm like, well, what am I doing now? And my wife's quite nocturnal, so she stays up later than me. And so what that means is that she's not getting up at 5 o'clock any day. So I've got to go and do something. Well, I'll go and kayak, or I'll go for a walk, or just something, move, because laying still is it doesn't feed me.
How important? Obviously, you that's clearly a key pillar for you in your success and your mental focus and all that stuff. And I could preach from the rooftops about that in the nature of what I do, but I still see a lot of people in Dubai that you look at their calendar, every single hour is dedicated to other people, to business, running through fire for other people's agendas. But then they're left with the leftovers. How important, especially in a place like Dubai, is looking after yourself and moving your body and looking after your physical health.
It doesn't matter where you live. It's the same in every city, in every country. I think the most important thing is to understand people's behavior is led by their priorities. Yeah, it always is. It always will be. Yep. And so make something a priority, because everything that's a priority, you do. Everything's. I didn't tell you this, but you do. So if it matters to you enough, you'll do it. Now, there's nothing I like more than watching a really overweight guy turn up to the gym and get on the treadmill and work out, because the shame and embarrassment I know he's feeling that first time of walking in there, and giving it a go, it deserves everybody's applause, because that guy needs everyone going to shake his hand and say, "Mate, congratulations on the courage to do that." And then those ones that persist, even if they don't see dramatic changes, that persist and go every day. And there's some in my gym that go every day. They're not, they're not bionic in any way. They're just normal people. I applaud that. But it's the same for everybody. You would decide what your priorities are. Okay. Understand that if your priority isn't exercise, then the consequent of that is obesity. Whether you like it or not, okay, that's what it is. So you can argue it, and you probably will, because you'll listen to this and go, "That's not right, that's not right." But let's be factual. If you don't exercise, your metabolism slows down. If your metabolism slows down for most people, you get fat. That's not me, that's just science. So exercise. Go and walk around the block, exercise, do something, move. But it's always about priorities. And my priority is my business. I spend 18 hours a day on my business. No, you don't. You lie. It's just nonsense. No one's spending 18 hours a day on their business and then going to sleep. They're not. They're scrolling through social media. Okay, they're drifting. They're outside having a fag. They're waffling. They're chatting to someone. They're not. You spend 18 hours a day on your business, and you just did that for 18 hours a day. Okay, within 3 months, your business will be bigger than most other people's businesses that have been going for 10 years. Okay, people don't. You see mega successful people that lock in. Okay, and they say to the rest of the world, back off, leave me alone, I'm dialed in, I'll speak to you in 3 months' time. Yeah. And remarkable things happen. But most people aren't. Most people actually work for a couple of hours a day.
Why do you think so many people lie to themselves? Or what do you think the core reason is people lie to themselves?
Because they can't handle the truth. Why would you face the truth? The truth exposes you. The truth proves who you really are. You've got to lie. Well, you want to face what you really are? What are you really? Lazy? Thoughtless? Selfish? Greedy? I mean, any of them sound cool to you? Not to me.
Surely these type of people, they wouldn't last long in a place like this.
In Dubai?
Yeah.
Well, I think with Dubai, you don't have unemployment benefits, so you got to work or you got to go. So, or you got to have a rich daddy or a rich husband or a rich provider. But the energy of Dubai pushes people subconsciously.
Okay.
And so Dubai doesn't have the same energy as London and Amsterdam, other places. It has an energy where more people are here knowing it's the modern day gold rush and trying to find a way to make it work. Most people don't make it, by the way. Take the real estate industry as an example. There's 28,000 real estate brokers here. There's probably 2,800 that are making proper money. Then there's probably another 3,000 or 4,000 that are making okay money. Then the rest of them are probably on constant rotation in and out into different companies, trying to find a job, and then they go to a developer so they can get a basic salary and they survive on that. Because they don't if you're a real estate broker, you have to learn how to sell. You ask them, what was the last sales book you read? They're like, I haven't read one. Well, how do you learn how to sell? What training course have you been on? What YouTube videos do you watch? What software are you learning to use that can help you become a really good real estate broker? I wasn't thinking, I didn't know.
What does it take to be a world-class salesman?
Understanding that selling is a skill, number one. It's not I've got natural charm and charisma and personality, I've got the gift of the gab. That's just nonsense. It's a skill, and you learn a process, and you have to have a really high level of integrity around it, where you have to be trying to solve people's problems. Now, if you can't create the problem that person has with them, then you can't solve it. You're just trying to flog them something. But if you can help someone create their problem by asking them questions the right way, and then you become a solution to that said problem, what are you really? You're a facilitator. You're not a salesperson. Okay? You have a problem. I bring the problem. You've got no bed sheets. I've got bed sheets. Here we go. Fancy some bed sheets. Oh, awesome, man. I need bed sheets. So to me, it's really simple. No matter what you do for a living, everything in this room has been sold. Yeah. In some way, it's been sold. Every single thing. Yeah,
because you get a lot of people, Spence, don't they? They're like, I don't want to be salesy. I'm not a salesman. Everything is a form of influence in some way, even if you're trying to influence your kid to do something you don't want to do.
Well, there's 3 ways of selling. Okay, 3 ways of selling.
Can you explain them first?
Yeah. Number 1, okay, you outreach, which means you either cold call or cold DM or whatever it may be. Second, okay, you advertise. That's how you sell. Third is you create content. That's all you got to do. I create content. I generate leads. I outreach, but I outreach to referrals. Okay, and I don't really advertise. That's something that other people do. But if you were to spend a load of money knowing how to advertise, and you advertising your said product and solution to the right target market, you'd create sales. If you were outreaching to people, you'd find people interested in said product and service. That seems so difficult to me. But everybody wants to make it difficult. They talk about salespeople very negatively, and it really, really angers me. Like, it really angers me, because I'm like, most people in a company that are employed on a salary, most people look down their nose at the salespeople. But the salespeople are the ones that have to deal with the rejection all day, every day. But they create the revenue that comes through the door, that pays the bills and creates the profits, and the bills include said salary. So if the salespeople weren't doing their job and making sales, you wouldn't have a salary, mate. Yeah. And so stop looking down your nose and thinking these salespeople are lower than you. You're an accountant. With the greatest respect in the world, you're just an accountant. Be respectful of these people that have to deal with these emotional highs and lows every day. Deal with rejection in ways you couldn't imagine. They work with a client for a period of time. That might be a year, might be 6 months. And they think they're getting all the way there to that client landing and becoming a client, and they're going to have that win, and the client ghosts them or changes their mind. It's devastating. That person that promised to do something that said no, devastating. Because in your mind, you've built yourself up and you're so happy and your self-esteem has grown and your confidence has grown, and then it's just ripped away from you in that moment. So for the next few hours, you've got to dust yourself down and pick yourself up and go again. Well, if you're an accountant, you're sitting there getting your salary every month. You're a, operational, administrational type role. You're going to get your salary on the 30th of the month. That's going to go in your bank account. There you go. There's your money. If you've had a good month, a great month, an average month, a poor month, still going to get that salary. Not salespeople.
On that, Spence, because I couldn't agree more. Like the energy sales can, the energy that sales can take off is just astronomical, right? You haven't done what you've done with sales across all these different companies, and obviously helped train people to become better at sales without an awareness of the importance of, like, your emotional regulation and your emotional management of dealing with rejection. What would be your advice to someone who's trying to take their sales to another level, and the thing that's maybe currently letting them down is maybe being too attached emotionally to the highs and the lows? Is there anything you did or do around that?
So I was taught this at the very beginning of my journey. And I think if everybody was to learn this, they'd understand. So if every single salesperson, if they look at their data and their stats, they will know that they get more no's than they get yeses. Okay? If you take people through a funnel, you have 100 people coming to the top of the funnel, which the 100 people creates 10 leads. 10 leads creates 5 prospects. 5 prospects creates 1 sale. So you've got 100 to 1. So that's 99 people that have said no thanks at various times of being exposed to you. They've said no thanks. Nothing personal, just no thanks. If you knew you had to go and find 99 people in the shopping centre to say no to you before I would say yes to you, and I'm going to give you $1 million, how easy is it going to be just to walk around the shopping centre and say, can you say no to me? If I'm going to give you $1 million at the end of it, the yes. You have to understand that rejection is a critical part of success. You can't have success without it. What is it? What's the win if you haven't got a loss? How does it even work? Why is it even called a win? It's called a win because you've got a loss. You've got the opposites. And you've got to understand those no's, you're going to have more. How arrogant must you be to think that everybody likes your product and solution and you? How ridiculous must you sound to say that? Most people don't want to buy your house. Most people don't want to buy your second-hand car. Most people don't want to buy your mobile phone. They don't want to buy your insurance. Most people don't. But some people do. And so you've got to accept, to get those some, you've got to deal with the ones that don't. And that's okay. And do you know what? Some of those don'ts might become sums in the future. So don't treat them badly. Treat them with respect. So when you get rejection, when you get no's, accept it's part of the job. Now, your job is to go from 99 no's to 1 yes, to 98 no's to 2 yeses, to 96 no's to 4 yeses. Because if you think about the odds on that, that's 1 in 100, then that's 2 in 100, which is 1 in 50. Okay, then 4, okay, it's 4 in 100, which is 1 in 25. Well, if you take that all the way through and you get to that point where you've got 10 say yes and 90 say no, that's a 1 in 10 close rate. Most people are quite happy with that. Do you know the conversion of leads to sales in the real estate industry in Dubai? Go on. This is a fact. And we know there's a real estate boom going on here right now, yeah? The property market's flying. People are selling property left, right, and Chelsea. From leads to sales in Dubai, 1%. Wow. That's it.
It's insane.
1%. Yeah. So 99% say no. And everyone complains about the leads. But to me, it's like, if you knew you had to call 99 leads to then get a yes on the 100th lead, you'd just call them. But your belief is that more people should be buying from you. Ask yourself a question. how much time do you spend training and developing yourself in sales? How much time have you spent, on a residential training course to improve your game, on an online training course to improve your game? What was the last book you read about your industry to make you better? What was the last investment you made into watching podcasts or listening to audiobooks on your way to work or speaking to experts? How much time do you hang around with the top performers in your business? Genuinely. Okay. How much time do you analyze and assess yourself honestly? How much data do you actually gather around everything that you do so that you can precisely look at that data? And if you're not doing those things, you're not a salesperson. You're full of shit. And that's just the truth.
Amazing. On that, let's speak about your podcast, because it's one of the biggest UK speaking podcast you've just said here in the UAE. You've done nearly
370.
370. You've done nearly 370. Why did you start that, and why do you still do it?
Some horrible little knobhead from India who became a very close friend of mine. Sorry, I'll say that. You'll have to edit that. Horrible little knobhead from Manchester, my mate Raj Katecha. I met this guy Raj, and I love Raj dearly. And he said to me, we were talking about social media.
Yeah.
And he said, you should have a podcast. And I'm like, what's that? He said, you don't know what a podcast is? I'm like, no. He said, you heard of Joe Rogan? I was like, no. He said, this is what you need is a podcast. This is what it is. It's this thing. You're on camera, you're on a microphone, da-da-da-da-da. And he's talking to me for about a year. And I'm like, go away, I don't want to do one. Anyway, he convinced me to do one. And the first episode was just me. And there's a photo somewhere, and I'm literally in this room. I've got a desk like this. I've got a coffee table on the desk. Okay, and on top of that desk, I've got my laptop, okay, as I'm reading what I'm doing in my first podcast, telling everyone about it. And Raj wrote this thing in a large font so I could read it quickly, like scrolling up. And he convinced me to do it. And then we got a few guests, and I started having fun. And I'm like, okay, this is an opportunity for me to meet interesting people. And that's why it started. Yeah. And what I noticed is that lots of other people around that time had started or were starting or were talking about starting, but nobody really did. And I eventually was that one that kept persisting. And I was just disciplined, and I just kept doing it over and over and over again. Then I met a girl in lockdown. I've never, what is her name? She comes on the phone and she's Anushka? I don't know. Nusheen. Right, Nusheen is her name, if she's listening to this. She's like, Spencer, would you come on my podcast? And I'm like, yeah, sure, no problem at all. It was online because it was lockdown. I said, how many episodes have you done? She goes, oh, I've only done 4 or 5. I said, oh, wow. I said, and how many are you planning to do? 1 a week? She goes, no, I've just started filming 1 every day. And I'm like, what? She goes, yes, I'm going to do 90 over the next 3 months. I'm like, what? And I was like, you're joking. She's like, no, I do it online. I edit it. I like editing. And then I publish it. I'm like, Nusheen, that's just nuts.
That's insane.
And that's what she did.
Okay.
And I was like, you better raise your standards, Mr. Lodge. Okay. And so she gave me this metaphorical kick up the bum. But I just kept persisting. And then we were really fortunate to get Tony Robbins to come on the show. And on the back of Tony, then all of the other big names in that whole self-development world decided that they'd give me some of their time. And by then we started to get some traction. And it was that traction that gave me more confidence and belief. And don't get me wrong, there's been times along the way that I'm like, because I don't think I knew what I was doing for about 2 years. I wonder sometimes what I'm doing now. But
You're doing a good job of positively winging it. I tell you that, Spencer.
People are very positive about it, though, and I like that.
Yeah, you're making a difference for sure. How did you get Tony Robbins on the podcast? Because I'm sure this is going to tie in with what you've just spoken about sales, about willing to be rejected.
So we reached out to his manager. She said no. We reached out to his publicist, Jennifer Connolly. She said no. Sent us some flowers, nothing. And I'm sitting there going, bitch. Got some cupcakes made with her photo on from LinkedIn, her LinkedIn photo. And we sent a dozen cupcakes to her office. And she responded immediately. She goes, I don't like flowers, but I like cupcakes. What do you want? I'm like, please help us. And me and my friend Omar, she said, make a video. On that video, I will give it to his stewardess on his jet. She will play it to him if he likes. She goes, that's all I can do. That's literally it. And so me and Omar made this video basically shoving all of his lessons back down his throat. What does he say? I can't remember the words we used, but we took a bunch of his lessons, shoved it back down his throat with lots of humor. It was like 1 minute long. Okay. And it's not about resources, it's about resourcefulness. You say that, Tony. We're not letting this slip. And
life doesn't happen to you, it happens for you.
Yeah, all that stuff. Yeah. You only get when you give. All that kind of stuff. And he watched it, liked it, and decided he'd come on the show. And he came on the show, and he was just wonderful and beautiful and charming and kind and gracious to everybody there that day. We were supposed to have him for 35 minutes. He was there for 2.5 hours. Wow. He was just magical. And he in there wasn't a single person in that building that didn't have a selfie with him, a phone call to their mum, a live or whatever it may be that he was doing. He was voice noting people's kids and all kinds of things. Tony Robbins here, just magical. And so that's how it happened.
But the lesson in that, again, and I think this sort of sums you up in general, Spence, is just have a go and just what's the worst that happens if you don't put yourself out there, if you don't be brave to ask the conversation or ask for help, or what's the worst that happens? And that's one of the biggest lessons from today for sure. I've spent some conscious, we're probably going to get kicked out soon in this room. What's the mission moving forward, Spence? Would it be okay in sharing what you did recently in a documentary around human trafficking? Like, why and where did that come from?
Cure yourself from depression by finding ways to bring value to other people. I said the exercise masked my darker times. The cure for the clinical depression that I suffered in the last 10 years was found by accident through helping children that had been suffering child slave labor and human trafficking. By spending time with those children, I realized that my problems weren't as big as I thought they were. Their problems were way bigger than mine. And every time I saw them, it just gave me this huge injection of gratitude. And that gratitude was something I'd kind of poo-pooed that word before. And then I accepted that word in reality. And that those children to this very day have been a big part of my life. And then the documentary came because of the children. I wanted to shed a light on this problem that existed in the world. And I found 3 heroes, Maria, Hannah and Lena, that had done just the most incredible work. And that work that they'd done blew my mind. And we decided to make a documentary about their stories. And their stories moved me beyond belief. And we've just been nominated for 3 awards at 3 film festivals, which we're super happy about. But it changed my life. It made everything, it kind of made everything in the end make sense, because I was living this mad world where it was all about money and success and how big your house was and how fast your car was and how flash your watch was. And it didn't have any real meaning to it, but this did. And this meaning meant that I almost rejected that other stuff. I went to another kind of end of the spectrum where it's just like, no. When I spend money on things now, I always think about what the girls could use the money for. So my behavior around money is completely different. My wife likes to go to nice restaurants, and I'm just like, it's food, it's a restaurant. That 3,000 dirham meal, 1,500 dirhams of that could go to the kids if we go somewhere cheaper. And so I think like that much more. But they are a guiding light in my life to this day, and I will do everything I can to stay close to them for as long as I can. I'm sure eventually when they get married and move off as they become adults, that will change. But one of them recently got a full scholarship to study biomedical science at University of Greenwich in London. And we're just super over the moon because these kids are from the slums. They live in the slums. They arrive in Dubai. They literally don't even know how to wash themselves. And they come in and Maria, who's worked with them, they just inspire me beyond belief. You haven't got problems. Most people watching this haven't got real problems. You've got problems, but not real problems. And when you get exposed to this real harsh life that some kids have led, you have your first period and then you have to get married to a man who's 30 years old. So, and then they get you pregnant and you die in childbirth because your body can't give birth to children at 12. That's real. Okay, watching children that become prostitutes at the age of 8 years old in a village because they know no other way of making money. That's real. I watched that with my own eyes. I met the president of Nepal and we worked on this together, and that's real. And that is so much more important than a single thing I've said on this podcast or ever else in my life, because everything else is irrelevant. All right, this is what matters. And so when you have that kind of purpose and mission, and you really believe something very powerfully, and it takes over how you look at the world, then it can give you a real injection of learning what the right direction really is. And it doesn't mean you can't have a nice car or live in a nice house. That doesn't mean that at all. But I urge everyone to do two things in their life. Number one, once a month, go and volunteer. Okay, go and volunteer once a month for half a day. I don't care where. Go and volunteer. Work with people that are suffering. Work with people that are less fortunate than you. I would urge people to do that. Okay. And number two, okay, I would urge people to stop thinking about being measured by what other people think you should be measured by. It doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. Just be kind. And if you can be kind to one person every day, if we all were kind to one person every day, there wouldn't be a Ukrainian war. There wouldn't be a Palestinian war, invasion. Then none of that would happen. Because if we were all kind to each other every day, we'd get on. We'd find a way. We'd have empathy. We'd have compassion. And we'd just find a way to work together rather than to be so extreme that we've got to hate on each other.
Man, I nearly cried then because I've got a little girl now, as you know, 7 months. So when you're saying an 8-year-old is prostituted, I mean, it's inconceivable. It really is. It's bad enough when you see, little Gigi the other week, she was poorly for the first time and you have a bit of a meltdown. But at least me and Gabby can do something about that. You've got the luxury to get a doctor out like that immediately. So
I was in a school in Nepal, in Kathmandu. They put a little baby, a 6-month-old, in my arms, and I sat down and I said, "Where's a little boy?" I said, "Where's his mum?" And they said, "His mum committed suicide last night." And I'm like, "You're kidding me!" And I've got this baby, and I'm like, "What do you do with that? How do you even process that?" And so it's like, we need to solve this problem.
Amazing, Spence. That's a perfect place to wrap this up. Thank you so much, mate, for so much gold across so many different spectrums. I could literally speak to you for hours. No, it's touched my heart. It really has. It's especially becoming a dad to a little daughter. So powerful stuff. Please keep up the amazing work. Anything I can do. I need to definitely come on these volunteering trips and come on these hikes. For sure. But where can people find you? On social media and your podcast, of course.
I've got a name that sounds like an old people's home, so you can't miss me, can you? Spencer Lodge. So you'll find me on all social media channels. It's just easy. Just type Spencer Lodge and you'll find me there. And then, apart from a hotel in New Zealand, I'm not the hotel. But yeah, the podcast is called Made in Dubai with Spencer Lodge. So if you go and find that on Spotify or Apple or wherever you want, and there's 370 interesting people that have shared their stories and educated and inspired and made me cry and made me laugh and everything in between.
Amazing. Spence, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Everybody, please check Spence out and I'll see you next time.